Hi guys, and welcome back to Macaroon. I'm really happy that so many people like the crewmate plushie DIY, and I got tons of requests for different accessories. So in this video, I'll show you how to make the fried egg, flower, halo, cherry, and leaf hats. This is the first of several compilations on how to make Among Us hats and pets, so be sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss the upcoming tutorials. A common problem people had was finding socks in the right colors, and I've linked a lot of them down below, so be sure to check the description box. Ordering from Amazon might not be as cheap as buying from a dollar store, but it's worth the convenience if you really need to have a certain color. So first up, let's make the flower hairband. I found children's fluffy gloves in the same discount store, and we can use these for an incredibly quick and easy DIY. Of course, I know it might be tricky to get these specific gloves in different countries, so I've also included a guide on how to make this flower using a regular sock. Start by sewing a running stitch just below the fingers and thumb like this, and then cut off the rest of the glove. Now pull on the thread so all the fingers turn into a flower shape, and then add some stitches in the middle to keep them in place. I also made a few extra stitches between each of the petals, which joins them together and makes the flower look a bit smaller. I'm going to sew on a yellow bead for the center part, but you can also use fabric, a button, a pom-pom, or whatever else you can find. Now attach this onto the crewmate, and I'm using the pink one from the previous video. I think pink with the flower is a very popular combination, and I love reading all of your comments describing your favorite character. Next, I'm going to make a small leaf using leftover fabric from the green crewmate. Simply turn it inside out, draw a leaf shape, and backstitch along the line. Be sure to leave a small gap at the end so you can flip it the right way around. Then you can sew it on using the same piece of thread. I decided to skip the headband part of the flower because it's very dark and I really like how these colors look together. Plus, you can't really see much of the hairband when you're playing the game anyway. And of course, if you can't find any fluffy gloves, then here's how to make the flower using a sock. You basically have to make the 5 petals separately and then sew them all together. This takes a bit longer, but it's pretty straightforward. Start by turning the sock inside out and sketch on the 5 petals. The reason I'm drawing this right on the edge here is because you can save yourself a bit of sewing whenever you incorporate part of the sock shape into your design. Now simply backstitch the outlines, cut out the petals, and then join them up like previously shown. Next, we're going to make the angel halo, and this one is unbelievably easy. Take a yellow sock and roll the top part downwards to form a thick band like this. Use some thread in the same color and make a ladder stitch inside the folded edge. This is basically one stitch on each side so the fabric is tightly joined together. Now cut away the rest of the sock and you already have a crewmate halo. I would personally recommend sewing around this just one more time to get rid of the fluffy edges. You can see how the fabric becomes smooth with just a tiny bit more stitching. However, if you're lazy or pressed for time, then you can place the halo with the fluffy edge downwards and sew it directly onto the head. This should hide a lot of the rough edges as well. Now let's make the cherry hat. The only red socks I could find were Christmas ones, but these have a good amount of solid red. I can actually make another crewmate using these, so I'm going to save the top part. Then I'm cutting out a circle from the heel and sewing a running stitch along the edge. If you see my other sock plush tutorials, then you'll recognize this as the most basic method for making arms and legs. Just add some stuffing to the center and pull it tight to make a ball. Then crisscross a few stitches to close the opening. Next, take a black or brown sock and backstitch a stem shape along one side. I'm just doing this without any sketching because it's so simple. Then cut it out and turn it around. You don't have to use any stuffing here because the sock fabric is thick enough to hold its shape. Attach the stem onto the ball and the cherry hat is done. I'm actually going to make a white crewmate for this because I read a great comment saying how they always play white with the cherry hat because it looks like an ice cream sundae. Unfortunately, I forgot to screenshot the comment, so I don't know who left it, but this one is dedicated to all the ice cream crewmates out there. I found this tiny piece of blue sock fabric which was left over from my penguin and owl video, and it's perfect for the helmet faceplate. I realized that finding the ideal bluish grey color for the helmet is actually quite tricky. Not every shade of grey matches with every bright color, so I feel that white is actually the most versatile option if you're making a lot of crewmate plushies. Now attach the cherry using a ladder stitch and our ice cream plushie is done. I could make a bad pun about him looking kind of süß, which means sweet in German, but let's move on. The fried egg hat was highly requested, and this one is great fun to make. Start with a white sock and turn it inside out. Then draw this shape onto the toe part, which I think looks a bit like a cartoon duck's feet. It actually looks best if it's slightly asymmetrical, so don't worry about getting this perfect. Backstitch along the lines and cut it out. Now cut a tiny hole in the center and use it to flip it the right way around. The egg yolk is made using exactly the same technique as the cherry. One thing some people might be wondering about is whether it's actually necessary to turn the sock inside out if you're only using a tiny piece of fabric like this. Surprisingly, I discovered that there really is a difference between the two sides of the fabric because many socks tend to have more visible elastic on the reverse side. So whenever possible, try to make sure that the outer parts of your plushie is made using the outer parts of the sock fabric. Attach the yolk onto the egg whites using a ladder stitch and take a bit of care not to sew through both layers by accident. The hole on the bottom is obviously not a problem since this is going to get hidden later on. I decided to make the cyan crewmate because I love this color. And now we've got our fried egg hat. Last but not least, it's time to make the leaf. For this I'm going to turn a green sock inside out and draw a stem from the open edge. The great thing about Among Us illustrations is that they're drawn freehand, so a lot of the items are naturally asymmetrical. This makes it easier to turn them into DIYs because you don't have to worry about getting everything perfect. In this case, the two leaves on the hat actually point in slightly different directions. And as usual, just stitch along the lines, cut them out, and flip your piece around. Make sure the leaves are fully pushed outwards to get that pointy shape. If you want to, then you can also embroider or paint on some lines to make it look even more like the hat from the game. So these were the first 5 accessories, and please keep leaving your suggestions below. I read all of the comments and I try to make the ones which get mentioned most often. I know that Plague Doctor is hugely popular, and that one is actually slightly tricky, so I think I might make it into its own video. I hope you enjoyed this DIY, and be sure to check out my TikTok account as well. I'm Joanna, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!